Hello there, thanks again for joining us for another Knitting Together tutorial. We're now looking at stitches that are slightly more complex, and Nettie's going to talk about decreasing your stitch. There's increasing and decreasing, so we're looking at decreasing, Nettie.
That's right, Julie.
Okay.
So here we've got some examples of how to decrease, and this lovely little hat has been decreased by knitting 2 stitches together, and as you can see it's created a right leaning decrease, which actually when worked with several of them will actually bring the shape of the hat in. Decreasing the number of stitches will obviously mean there are fewer stitches to knit, and it will shorten and reduce the size of things. So it's the kind of stitch that you'll find in many patterns, and it's actually quite straightforward to do. And here we have another example of where you might decreasing toys. In this face, it's been decreased around the edge to bring it into a point, as you can see there. First technique that we're going to show is knitting 2 stitches together.
Excellent. Can I just ask, Nettie,
Yes.
with a hat that you showed at first, you'd always start then knitting rather from the brim and work towards the point?
That's the usual way,
Okay,
yes, you
fine.
do, yes.
It's a
Here's an
lovely
example of a small piece of knitting that I've done, which shows knitting 2 stitches together up this side. So I will knit along using knit stitch along the front here, and then when I get to 4 stitches before the end, I'm going to knit these 2 together, and it will bring in the side of the stitching in this way. So you'll just have to bear with me while I do my first little bit of knitting.
I love that colour. It's a sort of duck egg blue, isn't it?
It's very pretty.
Really pretty.
So I'm just knitting along here. As usual, the knit stitch is inserting the needle under, wrapping the yarn around the needle and bringing it off, making sure your yarn goes between your needles and your needle goes into the loop on the left hand needle and not between, because that's where you might end up dropping a stitch. So here we are. So I've got to my point where I am 4 stitches to the end, and now I'm going to knit 2 stitches together to make a right leaning decrease. So you insert the needle from underneath the first of the 2 stitches up through the back, and then knit it as normal before bringing it back to the front and lifting it off like that. And you'll see that that has actually brought those 2 stitches together, and then you just carry on knitting like normal, and your pattern will tell you at what point to make your knit 2 together decrease, which is often abbreviated as k2tog.
K2tog. Forgive the pun, but it's quite seamless. It is, genuinely. It just looks so smooth.
It's a very smooth decrease, yes, it is. It does give a nice effect, and you can sort of see the parallel with our little hat here about the way that the decreases work within a pattern section, not just at the end. So it's a very useful technique.
So you've done a right-handed, right-leaning?
A right-leaning
Right-leaning decrease. How would we do a left-leaning decrease?
A left-leaning decrease is another type of decrease, and we'll get to that in a moment.
Just so impatient to learn. If you're inspired by these techniques that Nettie's teaching us, ranging from absolute beginners stitches, for somebody like me, or more complex stitches right across the whole gamut of everything you can do, then all you need to do is to join the fantastic Knitting Together Club. Visit the website letsknit.co.uk/together, or you can call 0800 904 7000. See you again soon.